Hello, fellow nerds, geeks, and supporters of any pop culture creators. I'm your host, Aaron Nabus. Happy New Year. And thank you so much for tuning in to The Hall H Show. Joining us on our very first episode of 2025 is a good friend of the show, the creator and writer of the comic book, California Inc., Mr. Arthur Ebuen. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, you're always welcome on the show. The fourth and final issue of the current arc of California Inc. is currently on Kickstarter until February 13th, 2025, and we're lucky to have Art on the show. Happy New Year to you.
Thanks, man. I think the last time I was here was for issue 1, right? That's when we were talking about the first one. I can't believe we're talking about the fourth one.
Was it issue 1 or issue 2? Because
Oh,
I think it was September of 2020.
I think you're right. I think you're right. You are actually more right than me because you should know better. This is your show. It's definitely because I think I brought issue 1, so that makes sense because
Yeah,
issue 1 couldn't have been printed if we were still kickstarting it. So yes,
I know.
rewind, and if you heard me say issue 1 is issue 2.
Can you believe it, man? Issue 4.
Yeah, I mean, we wrote this back in, let's see, I finished writing it 2018,
Mm.
2019, 2018 even. And it was still just an idea that I was hoping to find an artist, and we found Dave, and it's cool. I'm pumped. I didn't think we'd get past issue 1. Just kind of, I was like, let me just see if we can kickstart one, and we have a little bit of a readership. So I'm pumped, man. This is cool.
Hmm. I mean, now that issue 4 is pretty much done, and I guess it just needs to be printed. And congratulations, it's been fully funded, right?
Yes, you're right. It has just been funded. At least the printing part of it is. So
Yeah.
we
Hmm.
excuse me, we have stretch goals so that
Right.
we could. We're working on another story. Again, I didn't expect to have this kind of response. People who are telling us that they're readers of our book to find out that the fourth issue is a final part of the installment of the miniseries was like, oh, can we have more? And it's yeah, that's a great sign. We're flattered. I did have plenty of other stories that I would like to explore, but we have one that we're working on right now.
Hmm. So you mean plenty of stories that are not connected to California Inc. or
Oh, specific to California is what I meant.
okay?
So I originally had this written or uh, outlined to be a 6-issue miniseries, and we were supposed to pitch it around. And when we decided to do that, my editor suggested, Justin Jumpally suggested we knock it down to 4 issues because most publishers for an unknown creative team would need they wouldn't risk more than a 4-issue miniseries. So wrote it as a 4-issue miniseries, completed it before I met Dave, and then right before kind of deciding to pitch it, decided to go creator owned and self published. And so with that in mind, I was like, let's see if we even get past issue 1. And here we are, issue 4, and at the end of the arc. And with the response to write more, there were a couple of other stories that are not directly California Inc. in terms of like it's California Inc. It's characters within California Inc. that I'd like to explore, and I'm working on one of those right now.
Nice. I mean, now that you're finished with issue 4, I mean, how do you feel about the overall experience?
Oh man, it's been good, like really really humbling in a good way. For how many years have I been working on it? So I think we mentioned this at the last podcast. I was an animator for years on some great shows, and then I worked in advertising for about 16 years for a bunch of great clients. Um, and this is the first time I've ever made something that's completely out of my own brain for me. The audience is me and Dave at this point, and Justin. We are the audience. You want to make stuff for yourself, then you hope other people like it, and people like it. It's like you said, we funded issue 4 in just under 13 hours. Like, not even 24 hours, it was just under 13 hours. So we were floored by the response to be, you know, funded that quickly, and to hear people want more. It's been a great experience. I found a new happiness in creative. As you know, Aaron, I have some goals I mentioned to you. I have a lot of goals that I want to have for this year, including finishing writing the side story to California Inc. I wrote my first horror script. I'm not the biggest horror person, but I got someone asked me to write a horror story for their anthology, and I did my version of it, and they read it and loved it. So pumped for that. Uh, it's been fun, man. It's opened a whole lot of doors for me, and in my own brain, in my own capability, my own empowerment to like make stuff that I don't have to depend on clients for. It's a lot more work because then we got to market it ourselves. But
Right.
it's been awesome. It's been awesome.
Uh, you mentioned your first horror anthology. Um, how did that how did that opportunity take place?
Oh, that's funny. It's just kind of like the more people you meet, the more friends you make, the more opportunities. It's one of those. You know Vince Alvendia, a good buddy of ours.
Hmm.
He and I have talked about trying to work on something together for a while. Like we just keep talking about like let's work on something. And I'm in the middle of California Inc. And I don't have the time. Then he has his project he's working on. He's always cranking. He's always got some great work coming out. And we were at Comic Con, and his good buddy Atiba goes, he's sitting between. So it just so happens Vince and I are in the same row, and between us is Atiba, and he and Atiba are very good friends. And Atiba, one morning before Comic Con opens, we're loading in, we're just kind of waking ourselves up before at our tables, and just kind of opening up our tables and loading up our product. And then Atiba goes, "Hey, here's what's going to happen." So matter of fact, like his own super dry, hilarious way. I'm like, and I lean back in. I'm like, "What's going to happen?" He's like, "You're going to write a horror story, and Vince is going to illustrate it." I said, "Oh yeah?" He said, "Yep." That was it. So, cut to 6 months later after the con is done, and I decided to just write it anyways, just as a practice. And I wrote something, and I rewrote it, and I rewrote it again. And then when I got to a certain point that I was kind of like, "Hey, this is kind of cool," I shared it with Vince and Atiba, and I sent it to excuse me, my editor Justin, and he was like, "Dude, this is fun. Like this is a nice kind of a change of pace for you." So that's how that happened.
Nice. Um, Now we'll switch gears and talk about California Ink again. For someone who is hearing about it for the first time, how would you describe the comic book to them?
Oh, let me give you the quick log line. In the near future, California becomes a corporate country with factions fighting to shape the new nation. It's funny. You hear that now, and everybody's like, "Oh, that sounds like America as we're seeing it unfold." And I'm no Nostradamus, and I'm not saying that this is actually true, but that's not the intention. It was something I came up with back in 2015. 2014. Started writing in 2016. Excuse me, 2016, and it's it was me working as a creative in corporate America, laughing at all the internal. Anybody who works in corporate America knows that there's a lot of internal jargon that just makes me laugh, and then this office politics that's almost geopolitical. And I just kind of figured, you know, as Californians at the time, like we're known for thinking we're a little bit different, which we are. I mean, even within California, everybody's a little different, but kind of it's exposing the fact that our state is one of the highest, strongest economic powers in the world, not just in the United States, in the world. And then me giving that a spin on how we could use that to our advantage as Californians to create our own country. But the difference is it's a corporate country, so it has a board of it, you know, a board. It has PR, which is Hollywood. and its security is the strongest privatized military. And then our strongest exports is Silicon Valley, which is tech. And then um, the one thing that California is missing is having its own fresh water source to control our agriculture. Our agriculture, I believe, provides for about 90%, 80 to 90% of the U.S.'s or North America's um, produce. So imagine that power, which does exist. When I first started writing this, I believe California was the sixth or fifth strongest economic power in the world. Now we're second. I
What?
mean, that's wild, isn't it?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. I mean, think about how many. Yeah, it's just wild how much California wields.
Yeah, I mean, definitely after reading the end of issue 4, you're sort of, you sort of left it in a good spot. I mean, as you alluded to earlier, for a nice conclusion of the current arc.
Mhm.
But I can see where the story can continue, and you do have some continuing sort of storylines in the comic book, especially with them starting to. Well, I guess I don't want to ruin it. So yeah, so you definitely have uh, some future still left with the book. I mean, obviously that was deliberate, right?
Yeah, well, no, I'll be honest with you. I had some how it could go. I kind of quickly jotted down some ideas where it could go if we wanted to do more. But also, like, life continues on, right? So I didn't end it to just end, even if it was the final issue ever.
Yeah.
I ended it because you know life continues anyway. Anywhere you go, there's an end to a story, but there's always more. Like, and so if this was the final issue, that would be the end of it, and I would be happy with the way it ended. So I do have some other characters I'm exploring that could look into the future of from that point of issue 4. But the side story that I'm writing now takes place kind of like right before the beginning of issue 3.
Mm.
So that's kind of yeah, the lead up to issue 3 from another point of view.
Oh, so when we're talking about issue 3, is it before the flashback or after the flashback?
You'll have to see.
Okay.
You'll have to see.
All right. Okay. You definitely got my interest peaked, so I'll definitely be waiting on bated breath for that one. Um, well, let's talk about the Kickstarter. Are there any features of the current Kickstarter that you'd like to highlight? I know there's a plethora
Yeah, no, no,
of
no.
different covers that you have available.
Yeah, you've got the standard, variant offerings, variant covers by amazing friends that I've made over time. Thanks to Dave, I was able to meet Don Aguilo. He's back for a third issue. Don is an amazing artist in his own right, just in general, just a really great painter. It happens to use digital, and you swear it's not digital when you look at his paintings. But he is so talented that he was discovered, like literally discovered by um, Todd McFarlane's team and Todd McFarlane, who reached out to him to become one of his um, uh, cover artists. So he wasn't seeking, and I'm not saying that Don, you know, doesn't deserve it. I'm sorry, is full of himself, because he's not. He's probably one of the most humble people I've ever met. Such a sweetheart, such a good guy. That I think his story. I don't want to ruin it. I'll let him tell the story. But his story is that he didn't believe it when they reached out to him, but didn't want to ruin the opportunity. So he took the call. And when he took the call, he was surprised to see Todd McFarlane on the Zoom meeting. He was like, "Oh, this is real." So we have him doing one of the covers, and then his good buddy Thad is also a Todd McFarlane Spawn cover artist. He is a cover artist for Todd, and so I've known them two for about a year now. At least Don for longer, but I've met Thad over the last year, and I was hoping I can get them to collaborate, and they did. So they did a kind of a somewhat connecting
Oh yeah,
variant option. So it's one point of view versus the other
that's
in
cool.
in their own styles. And then, of course, you just heard me talk about Vince. Vince Alvendia did a cover. That was another way for he and I to work together. And then, of course, Dave and I do our own variants. I know I'm a writer here for this, but I'm an illustrator and animator. back in the day. So I got to do a variant for the cover as well. But the one that I feature that I do like that we have, excuse me, on Kickstarter is the catch up options. Excuse me, apologize. I should have hit mute. Um, one of my one of my things as a Kickstarter backer is when I find a new to me story and I go back if they're on issue 3, right? And I go there to back it and I'm like, oh, only thing you offer is issue 3. Like I'm not going to jump in issue 3. And like if you offer me 1 through 3 digitally, I'll pay for that. Like, and that's easy money for you. And so it's frustrating for me to want to help someone, but I can't. I mean, I'll do it. I'll probably end up getting issue 3 anyways, but I probably won't read it until I can get issue 1 and 2 as well. So we offer catch up options as far back as you want, from 1 through 4 as a group, as a catch up, or you can get them individually, both physical and digital. And then also the digital, we offer 2 versions of the digital. It's the standard covers. I'm sorry, the standard PDF. So you just get the comic book. But if you get the digital premium plus version, you get all the variant covers plus the script attached to it as well. So
Hmm.
yeah.
That's cool. Also, you got some pretty cool pins,
Oh yeah, yeah.
patches.
Lots of fun in-world pins and patches for sure.
Hmm. Um, I'm looking at the covers right now, and they're all really cool. But I like how yours sort of breaks the plane of the section of the top header and the bottom
Yeah.
section. That's pretty cool.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I guess before we take a break and move on to the Thunder Round, is there anything else from the Kickstarter or the comic book that you'd like to cover?
No, I mean, if anybody's interested, I'm sure if you're on socials, you might have heard about this comic book because, as I've told Aaron, I think my PR and advertising efforts started about a month and a half before, and all the way through will not end. So if you've seen it, give us a try. Would love to share the story. It's been a passion project between myself and Dave and Justin. We're very proud of it. It's never been influenced by outside sources, but by that I mean, and we've seen this with TV shows where that it gets to a certain point in the story, and you could tell they're adjusting the story based on the reaction of the audience. This was pre-written and approved by us well before even started illustration, so the story has not changed one bit uh, throughout. So we're very happy to keep it true to the way it was originally intended.
Hmm. Yeah, I think you touched on something really important. I mean, that fact is really awesome that you kept the integrity of your book intact. Through the course of its original vision. But just visually looking at your books, they're all branded, the certain look. So
Mm.
I think that's important for recognition, especially when you're out at shows. And like you said, you started your marketing efforts, like a month or month and a half, you know, back. So there's a good run up to when you have your Kickstarter campaign launch. So those are all good lessons that I'm sure people that are trying to launch their own projects you know, can learn from.
Yeah, and that's actually great advice. Great point to bring up. Remember, advertising exists for a reason, and maybe because I worked in advertising for years, but we've all heard of McDonald's. We've all heard of Shen Yun, you know, and Shen Yun, I believe, has the largest marketing budget in the world. And same with McDonald's. They don't stop, even though they're some of the most famous brands out there. Um, McDonald's does not stop advertising because they stay on top of your mind. I'm not the biggest, you know, advocate for fast food, although I will partake. But there's a reason I go, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll get some fries like every couple months, is because they remind me that they're there.
Hmm.
Advertising works. Most of us creatives don't like spending the time to do it, but I enjoy it mostly because I do love marketing, but also like I'm proud of our thing. I do not mind talking about it. I do not mind telling people it's coming out. You made something awesome as a creative. Go push it out there and tell people how proud you are. Own the crap out of it. Put it out there. So don't think of it as advertising or marketing. Think of it as you're happy to share what you got. Tell people about it. Your work deserves to be seen, especially if you work so hard on it. So
That's so true. Um, all right, let's jump into the thunder round, which is our round of random questions. The first one is, um, what is the first thing that you think about when you wake up in the morning?
Oh man, am I going to run this morning?
Nice. Did you run this morning?
No. I'll be honest. I did something. I'm in my 40s, and I feel like I could still be as mobile as I used to be. And I did something one day. I used to jump rope a lot, and um, I did some jump roping about 3 weeks ago, and I did something to my ankle.
Oh
I think
no.
I went too hard. Yeah, yeah. It's one of those like I used to do this, and I used to do it regularly. I used to jump all the time. And then this time around, I was like, let me just jump for real quick. And I doubled the amount of jumping in that short span. And I didn't put out my mat to kind of soften the landing.
Mm,
And it messed up my ankle for a bit. And I'm still dealing with it, but at least it's going away. But that's hampering the running a bit.
hmm. Wow. Well, hopefully you heal up pretty quick.
We'll see.
Yeah. um, if you owned a restaurant, can you sort of describe what the cuisine would be like?
Oh man, chili cheese nachos. Um, no, seriously, that would be. I know. Actually, I jokingly said that if I ever was smart enough to not do a restaurant, but have a food truck,
Hmm.
it would be two things that I love: uh, funnel cake and corn dogs.
Oh yeah.
and
Okay.
if there's a way to also capitalize on that final burnt end on the stick of the corn dog, I would somehow try to maximize that effort.
Yeah, corn dogs are just so nostalgic for me. I mean, this reminds me of elementary school.
Right. And then as a fellow San Diegan, and we're still going to call it the San Diego, we're still going to call it the Del Mar Fair,
Right.
but,
Right.
but Del Mar Fair, like I got to have a funnel cake,
Mm.
man, nothing. And just plain powdered sugar. Don't put that other stuff on it. Just give me that powdered sugar and I'm good to go.
You know, one thing I liked from the Del Mar Fair was there was this one place that always had these really good cinnamon rolls.
Oh yes. And do you ever get them to go?
Yeah,
Get them
yeah.
the
I'd only
unbaked.
go there just to pick up the cinnamon rolls, and I would leave.
Do you get them unbaked so you could bake them at home too? Because you could do that too.
Oh no, I never tried that.
Yeah, because we'd
Uh
eat one while walking around,
huh.
and then you buy one that's cooked for the drive home. And then you get an unbaked set. So later on,
Dude, that's pro, man. That's pro.
that's why I run.
um, you recently watched the classic anime Akira with your son.
Oh my gosh.
Can you please tell us what that experience was like?
It's been a while for me
Uh
too, right? So it was like rewatching it from the beginning. Um, it was even I'm telling you, my son was shocked that it was made back in '88. He's like, that's from 1988. Like, yeah, dude. He's like, that does not look like it came from back. I'm like, that's how far ahead Atomo was. It was just the level of animation in the smallest things was so high art. It was just so well done. Even the storytelling, just everything about it. You're talking about a 16-year-old who isn't impressed by much, right? Um,
huh.
he literally was like, when it was done, his eyes were open. He's like, I didn't expect that. That was really good. In all levels too, not just obviously. He said the story was amazing. Like that was his first thing. He was like, what? I didn't expect that kind of story. And then we started talking about the art, and he's like, that was hand painted and that was hand done. He was like in shock. So
Hmm.
that was a fun experience to kind of have with my son, just kind of introducing the classics. Um, and then seeing it in Blu-ray too, kind of beautifully remastered and clean. It was it really it made me go, oh, maybe I should do an illustration piece with Canada,
Mm,
because that's how you pronounce. I realize that we say Canada, but then if you
right.
listen to the Japanese
Uh-huh.
audio, it sounds like Canada,
Uh.
Canada.
I'll have to watch it again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I do remember the opening sequence quite vividly.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, those bikes! Like
Yeah.
I don't like riding motorcycles. I mean, it's awesome for people to do. I'm just deathly afraid of them, but
Right.
that makes you go, I need to get a cool bike like that.
Is there anything else that you've been watching recently that sort of has made an impact on you?
Okay, story wise, I would say, let's see. We just finished watching Arcane. That's kind of an easy one
Oh
to
yeah,
talk
yeah,
about.
yeah.
But also, like, when I first watched it for season one, I was like, oh, that's pretty good. Like, it's just eye candy. It's pretty good, and it really is beautifully done. Some amazing French animation. They
Hmm.
they combine 3D with 2D with painting, and then it's stylistically some of the most gorgeous stuff ever. And then
Hmm.
season two rolled around 3 years later, and we rewatched season one, and then when you watch it with season two combined,
Hmm.
I was like, okay, this really is something special. The way they combine, they pay off a lot of season one stuff in season
Hmm.
two.
Yeah,
Did you finish it? I don't want to.
I did finish it.
Okay, spoilers for anybody's listening. Did you notice? I'm going to give you two things.
Uh-huh.
Jinx escaped. Did you notice that?
I I think.
What? Watch it again when
Uh-huh.
she's falling with Xander. When she's
Uh-huh.
falling with Xander, and the explosion happens. If you look really quick,
Uh-huh.
there's a pink streak, so she glitches out of there.
Oh, okay.
And then to confirm that, why is Caitlyn later on during the end watching? I mean, she's looking at the screen and she's looking at the schematics of the building, and
Hmm.
they zoom in on like the pipes that lead out,
Mm.
and then immediately cuts to um, one of those flying thingies,
Hmm.
like the ship that
Yeah.
flies away. Oh my gosh! And here's the payoff. Go back to episode one. That exact kind of ship flies by, and both she and Vi are talking about him, and Jinx says, "I'm going to be on one of those one day."
Mm.
So it's like a fan theory, but it makes too much sense. And if you, I believe there were some interviews where they won't deny it.
Okay.
And it just makes, dude, go back and rewatch. You'll see the
Okay, I
glitch.
will. Yeah.
You'll see, um, what's her face looking at the Caitlin looking at the pipes. You see
Hmm.
the thing, and then go back to episode one, the very beginning, and she goes, "I'm gonna be on one of those one day." And you're like,
Mm.
so there's some good news for you. She makes it out,
Mm.
because that was like upsetting, right?
Yeah.
That one, and then when the her version of Jinx, the young one, when she sacrifices herself.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh my god!
yeah.
So that stuff made me go, okay, season two really sealed it for me.
Yeah,
Let's say,
that was
let's
definitely a
see.
good watch.
And then the other one for me that I've been really enjoying, I think I might have sung the praises back before, was just solid, 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 absolutely amazingly. They make it look easy. Writing is Reservation Dogs and FX.
I still have to watch that one.
Yeah, or on Hulu. Just
Uh-huh.
3 seasons. It's done. It's simple. There are 30-minute episodes. Um, it feels simple, but at the end, you're like, man, I learned a lot. I felt a lot. I laughed a lot. I might, and dude, if you don't cry a couple times,
Mhm.
it's such amazing acting and writing the simplest possible stuff in the best way possible. It's, you don't need super big budget. You just need a great story. And if it doesn't move you, I don't know, man. That's, there's so many moments of me laughing out loud and so many moments of me just like choking back tears. It's so good.
Mm.
It's my top show of 2024, and I think for a while maybe one of my top shows of all time. I'll put it up there for me with like The Wire and what's another good show that I just love, like Leftovers and Breaking Bad. It's
Mhm.
just one of those. I just can't say enough good things about Reservation Dogs. It needs more flowers.
Mhm.
People need to watch it.
Cool. I'll definitely add it to my list. Yeah, one show that I kind of watched just
Oh yeah,
recently was Ted Lasso.
yeah. Oh my gosh, that was a good one too, right?
Yeah, that was good.
That's a solid show. That's
Hmm.
it's it's such a like such a good reminder of kindness,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Like, oh man, there's some moments you're just like, I wish I could handle things like that. And then you go, oh, he handled it the way I would. He's human too.
So, like, I finally understand what be a goldfish means now.
Yes, yes. That, and there's so many, like, football is life. Like,
Yeah.
Lots of great moments in that show. That's
I
another good
know.
one.
Yep. Um, you've been drawing a lot lately. What's going on?
I I think I mentioned earlier I used to
Yeah.
animate,
Uh-huh.
and animation burnt me out, and I just haven't touched drawing until I think I started doing my variant covers, and it
Hmm.
slowly started building like this confidence in me. And I would meet up with Bryant Dillon from Fanbase Press. We meet up every Tuesday night to just virtually draw. We're just drawing and talking. We're just
Hmm.
chatting.
Yeah.
It's a thing that he does with some folks, and so he asked me to join in, so I did, and it was a great place to kind of warm up my arm and draw again. But then I didn't have a reason to draw outside of just chatting with them, which is great. But I recently, as of the last 2 weeks, found a project for myself, and it might end up being a series of illustrations that I'm going to work on. I won't spoil it just yet, but I think you'll like them, Aaron. They're pretty retro. They're very
Mm.
retro.
All right.
So yeah, and it's kind of fun. I'm almost done with one of them. I might just text it to you, so it doesn't
All
instead of
right.
like putting it out on social, just to kind of let you see it ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and it's one of those like I'm scared. You know how it is when you make something for yourself. You're like scared to share it out with the world. We'll see. We'll see how I
Yeah.
feel.
Hmm. Cool. Looking forward to that. When you look back at 2024, what were some of your accomplishments that you were proud of?
Oh man, come on, Aaron. Between you and me, one of my biggest ones with you, something we all put together was Film Creator Con.
Mm.
That was massive.
Yeah.
Man, the the amount of energy on that day, like you can't duplicate that. There was something about that day being so dang special. Like it
Hmm.
was something that I know has been in your heart for years that got delayed, and then to see the reception that your show got and all the hard work that everybody put into it, it was so freaking magical. That was definitely a massive highlight, to be a part of that and to just see the community.
Hmm.
Not just okay, so the creative community is hard enough to put together, but the Filipino creative community, we don't have much, and it felt good to kind of empower, not kind of to empower the younger generation. We had some guests who weren't sure what was going to happen, and so they trepidatiously accepted our invite. And you heard it. I don't want to name names, but you heard it. Whoa,
Hmm.
like I didn't expect this, and this is so cool. Like some of those panel rooms were, I would say, a fire hazard. There weren't people. There shouldn't have been that many people in one room, but
Right.
our panel rooms were packed, and it was
Yeah.
so cool, man. Like Aaron, how much were you beaming for how many days were you beaming at the response to that show? I'm going to ask you that. Like how much,
I think I was high for almost a month, I think, afterwards.
right? Come
Yeah.
on, man. That was dude, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about how much fun we had.
Yeah.
We left them wanting more because they're like, "Oh, it's closing already." We're like, "Yeah, we didn't think it was going to be this awesome," and it
Yeah.
was. I don't think there were any bad incidents. Like we might have run out of. Nah, I don't think we ran out of food. Our exhibit hall was packed, but then people weren't upset.
Mhm.
It was electric, man. That was cool.
Yeah, I guess I mean, yeah, I definitely love the outpouring of support from the community. I'm glad that all of our creators that participated had a good time. Um, and it's definitely, uh, a good event to build upon for the future. Just but for me personally, it just seemed like it happened so fast that day.
It does, right? Every convention happens, as you know. Like when we get to convention,
Yeah.
we're like, oh my gosh, we have 8 hours to do this many things, right? And
Mhm.
at the end of the day, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm running out of time, running out of time, running out, like, and especially like SDCC when it's over that Sunday when the doors close, you're like, I can't believe that went by so quickly. But
Yeah.
at the end of every day, you're so exhausted. It's so
Mhm.
weird. This like you can't wait for it, and then you kind of dread because it's gonna be a long day, and then
Mhm.
when it's over, you're like, oh man, that went by too quick. Yeah. You know what was
Yeah.
my favorite thing was, seeing people I didn't know were gonna be there, like old friends from high school, and I would ask just kind of, you know, "Hey, how did you hear about this thing?"
Oh,
"Oh,
yeah.
I heard it on the radio," which I know you did some radio stuff with, like, I think it was, PBS or
Yeah, yeah.
KPBS.
With,
So
Beth Commando.
yeah, so
Mhm.
just, like, things like you and I and a few others. Like we made a massive effort to put the word out,
Hmm.
and not one thing worked. All of it worked. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it
Yeah.
was, man. I got on. I'm getting nostalgic about how much fun we had.
Mm. What's so cool also for me is Jeff Martinez, right?
I
J
might.
Prox, J
Oh yeah,
Prox.
yeah, yeah. Of
Yeah, yeah.
course. Come on. Yeah,
Well, we go way back because obviously Joel, so
yeah,
the whole Southwestern college crew from
yeah,
back in
yeah.
the day. But anyways, when I was in college at Southwestern College, me and a buddy of mine, Leonard Javar, we had a little shop in Bonita called Rising Sun, where we sold like imported Japanese video games
Wait,
and
I knew that was yours.
yeah, that was mine.
Get out of here! Oh, that's amazing. Dude. That's you were famous.
But
Amazing.
yeah, so we sold anime related products as well,
Yeah.
and then we also ended up we sold pagers eventually.
Yes.
Um, uh, but
That's about right.
Jeff used to come into the shop every so often to play with the games and stuff and hang out. So just to see him go through his creative journey from San Diego, eventually working with Jim Lee at Homage Studios, and then going up to Burbank when Jim Lee worked for DC, even to this day, and then Jeff, being part of Philam CreatorCon, show that we produced. It was just really cool seeing him there at a convention that we made.
Yeah, it's like the people you came up with, and you're both coming up. Isn't
Yeah,
that cool?
yeah.
And then let's not take away some of that spotlight. We landed Bobby
Oh yeah, Bobby
and
Rubio and
And
Los
Will
Pertasio.
Protest.
Hmm.
Come on,
Yeah.
man! Like, and yeah, they were like, "This is cool." You're like, "Yeah, right." And we were so confident, like, "Yeah, of course." And they were like, "I didn't know it was gonna be this cool."
Oh my gosh,
Amazing.
I got goosebumps again now.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Let's see. Another highlight for me would be, I think, of all these years, being an attendee, finally um, being uh, an exhibitor at SECC, and then also being on a panel at SECC. Like I was like,
Mm.
that was this year. Last year was that was a surreal year for me. Making to Emerald City, going to all these other conventions, and but San Diego's been my hometown con since I used to go back when it was at Civic Center, and you would just walk up, and it was just long boxes, and you pay $5 to go in.
Hmm.
And now being a part of it in some way was just, that was surreal. That was an amazing time for sure.
Wow, can you imagine all that happened?
Dude, it's and 2025 is looking even busier, so I'm not and I'm not going to rest. I'm going to keep building on what we've done, and you know keep appreciating what does come my way when it does.
Hmm. Um, you're definitely one of the most positive people that I know. Have you
You don't know me enough.
have you always been like that?
For any friends who are listening that are very close, they know that I can be pretty cynical about things too.
Uh-huh.
Um, I it's funny. I'm very self motivated. I'm very positive about my capabilities and where I want to go, and I'm pretty confident about what I can do if I put my mind to it. So that's my positive side. And
Mhm.
then it's something that I try to put in others, because it took me a while to give myself that empowerment. And I'll just bring up something culturally. As Filipinos, we're kind of, we can be a little bit more, I don't say shy, but kind of reserved, and feel like we're not deserved of praise and being proud of ourselves. And so something I instill in my kids is, I don't say I'm proud of you. I'm not saying I'm not proud of them. What I say is, when they're done doing something awesome, I go, "Are you proud of yourself?" Because you should be proud of yourself. I want them to find pride in themselves, and know that they only need to be proud of themselves before they need to look for someone else to be proud of them. If that makes sense.
That's
I don't want,
beautiful, man.
yeah, I don't want them to feel the need to find validation in anybody else but themselves.
Wow.
And so if I could transfer that into anybody else, and it's a difference between being cocky and being um, um, confident,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
I want people to be confident in themselves, so that you can empower yourself to do whatever the heck you want. The road might be tougher, the road, there might be roadblocks, but we can do anything we want. That's not going to hurt anybody else. If we just actually do the work. And so, but that doesn't come with negativity. You have to be positive about your capabilities and be able to tell yourself, okay, there's a few things I need to do. It's going to be some work, but I know if I do these things, it'll equal this thing I'm trying to do. And if you get in your own way, you're your own roadblock. So there will be times, I deal with it all the time. Imposter syndrome. You and I know each other for years, and I was nervous to reach out to you about being on this podcast. I don't know why, but I am, because it's, I don't know, something I've learned to be am I deserving of this? And I'm like, let me just ask, and it doesn't hurt. So, um, be positive of yourself and put yourself out there. I know we're afraid of criticism because it's easier. It's much easier to criticize than it is to do something and be criticized.
Hmm.
But you know what? You put it out there and you own it. Um, that it's go be proud of it. Go put it out there.
Definitely. Um, in episode 125 of our podcast, which was back in September of 2023. Wow, time flies.
Oh,
I loved getting to know your creative journey. From aspiring animator to getting an Emmy on The Simpsons to transitioning to graphic design, advertising, and photography. Then picking up new skill sets by writing, producing, and directing social change videos. I mean, and now you're also an incredible comic book creator and writer. What's next on your horizon? A full length movie, a novel? What else?
oh my gosh. If y- if one of our properties gets picked up for a TV show or a movie, I will sell out so quick. I will. No. I mean, I would, but I at the same time, I'll take the responsibility and work on that as hard as possible to make sure it's the best that I could make it. But right now, my thing is, so California Inc. was always a passion project, but it's also a test for me to see if I could make a completed story and produce it with all my heart and soul. I have another story that actually means a lot more to me that I've been wanting to put together. So that's my next big passion project. Is
Mhm,
this really kind of deep story for myself? That's going to be sci-fi fantasy. Um, that I'm hoping to get out in the next year or two,
mhm,
at least a few issues. So that's something for me. Whether it turns into something else, who knows? That's not the goal. The goal is just to get the story out. And for someone like me who doesn't have too much money, the best way to get your stories out, that's doesn't take too much. You don't have to get you don't have to write a script and pitch it to a movie studio or a TV studio. Is make a comic. Um, it doesn't have to be as high end as what we're making. It could be a zine, you know? So, uh, my biggest thing is just I want to write more. I want to illustrate more. I'm having so much fun uh, now that I'm finally empowered myself to do this. It's unfortunate I figured it out when I was 46. I'm now 47. I wish I started earlier, but at the same time, I can't turn back the clock. So I'm just going to keep doing this stuff, and wherever it leads me. Um, like WonderCon, I might be on a few more panels. I've just been asked by a couple folks
oh,
to
cool.
to be on their panels. At the same time, I've submitted for panels.
Mhm,
I've just been building my comics community. That's my biggest goal, is to continue to build my comics community, not just for myself, but I'm trying to find those who are starting like I was and give back to them, like the people who have brought me in from the inside out. So I'd love to help open doors too.
mhm. Also, in our last conversation, you were also very candid about your struggles and feelings of being inadequate as an animator. Though ultimately, you didn't let that get you down, and you were able to find success in the advertising world. What's the reason for your resiliency?
Oh man, like I said, yeah, we all deal with some form of imposter. I'm not good enough, but I know that that's kind of just me getting in the way. And so I have to remember that, I was a professional animator for years. The only way for me to get there is if I was qualified. So give myself that grace that I might have fallen off, but it's still in me, and I had it, and I was working for years, for a few years doing that, and I wouldn't be in those rooms working on shows if I wasn't good enough. So I told myself, get over that feeling and put it back to work. And I did. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm illustrating this series of kind of pieces that I'm excited to share in probably the middle of this year. I want to do this series of them before I just show one of them. As again, as proof of concept to myself, just like my writing, I want to make sure I could complete a set before I put just one out there and everybody's like, oh, great, where's more? I'm like, I don't know. It's just I want to prove things to myself more than anybody else. Uh, it's maybe the competitive side of me. I don't like when I feel like I'm powerless to do something. And I go, you know what? You can do this. It's gonna suck, but I'm a true believer that you could do anything, but there's always that beginning part of learning, kind of like driving, right? You could watch. I drive a manual car, um, or stick shift, as some people call it. And if you watch a video of someone and they teach you, sure, you know how to quote do it, but until you go out and do it, you're not going to learn how to do it. And there's always that struggle to learn anything new. That okay, give yourself the grace. It's going to take me about 3 months or whatever weeks or whatever days to learn how to do whatever it is I'm trying to learn. It's not going to be instant the way you see it on screen. I always have to give myself I understand that there's a struggle period in the beginning to get, to learn, to do, to make, to grow your community or whatever it is. And then it gets easier once you get the hang of it, once you start to build on that. So I've always had that. What's the growth mentality as kids are being taught in elementary right now? Um, when I've changed my career 3 times. Each time I knew that the beginning of that new career will be a struggle. I'm going to have to spend time to meet new folks. I'm going to have to find my people within those folks because you're not going to get along with everybody. And then you're going to have to spend time trying to build what you want to do in that new community, in that new industry. And so I just understand there's always a struggle here in the beginning. And I give myself the grace to fumble, to mess up, to learn, and the sooner you understand that, the sooner you actually get better quicker. You know, so
Hmm.
I don't know. Maybe that's just my mindset.
That's a good mindset to have. And you mentioned Film Creator Con earlier. When you helped me produce the inaugural show last year, I was really impressed with your organizational skills. Is that something that can be learned, or is it more of an innate ability?
I think it's a little bit of both. I wouldn't say a slob right out of high school, but I know that I wasn't too organized, and I'm pretty ADHD about things. I'm sure if you could tell how many tangents I go on. Um, and then when I started getting to roles in advertising, the higher you go, the more things you have coming at you, the more organized you need to be to make sure you hit and don't miss deadlines. So, you have things in place like processes that the whatever company you're at helps you stay on task and keep deadlines. But I had to find ways that helped me organize myself. And then I start transferring that into everything that I do. I'm here at my desk. I have lists of things that I have to do, and lists, I know people think it's funny, but lists actually help. You write down exactly what you need to do so you don't miss it. And then the satisfaction of checking it off is another thing. There is that, like being given a treat. I marked it off. So at the beginning of every week, I look at that list, see how many things I've crossed off. And then I reorganize that list. I rewrite it down and I add new things that I have to do on that list. And then the other one too is task based. I don't know if you're familiar with that. So like I've learned this too, is turning ideas and goals into tasks. So the goal might be, I want to write a comic book. Okay, well, now break that into actual things that you could mark off, because I can't just say write a comic book then mark it off. I've learned that you've got to turn them into actual steps. Like, okay, so um, I need to write a vomit draft. I need to write backstory. I need to write dialogue. I need to write the first issue. You start to break it down into smaller pieces,
Hmm.
and you make those actual checklists, and you mark them off. And by the time you're going done, sorry, excuse me. By the time you're done going through all those checks, you're like, I wrote something. I wrote it. I didn't. if you say I'm going to write something, that's not a checklist. That's not a task. Writing a story is not a task. The pieces to get to that final story are the task.
Right.
And so, as a producer for commercial TV, for commercials, I have to make many lists, not just for me, but for everybody on the crew, my directors, my clients, just to make sure everything lands on the day so that everybody has all they need to make sure it runs correctly. They have everything they need to be the most successful they can be in their specific role while trying to keep it under budget and on time. so
Mhm.
so many lists, and so I've learned to just do that with everything, even my comic book. It's just, okay, I'm launching on this date. What do I have to have done before that? I have to have a ton of PR done. I have to have the comic book done at this point. Like, the lettering needs to be finished maybe by this point. It's just everything for me is somewhat on the calendar to make sure that I could land it. Because if you just say I'm gonna draw something, well, what's something turned into a goal? What is something? How long is it going to take you? Do you need to get reference images? How much time do you need sketching? Do you plan on doing many thumbnails? Are you going to do value studies on a thumbnail? So you break them down into pieces, and that's just because I'm so scatterbrained. If I don't break them down, I won't get it done. It'll just
Mhm.
be all these things that I have in my head that I'm going to get done, but you don't get done.
It's really cool that you've been able to parlay your skills and experiences that you've accrued in you know the commercial marketing and design world into what you need to do to properly promote and market your comic books and other projects that you may have coming up.
Yeah, it's you're in design and advertising yourself. You know this. When we're in that position, we are one of many who are making that effort come to life for our clients, right? But now that I'm doing my own thing, it's like, oh man, I can't afford to hire a PR person. I can't afford to pay for this and that. So I'm my own lead generation. I'm my
Hmm.
own PR person. I'm reaching out to people like you. I'm my own social media manager. So I'm creating, and then thank goodness you and I can design, because I don't have to hire a designer to make all my graphics. So, and then there's that. And then, I have to put out a content calendar. So I have like a virtual calendar. You see me put one of those together for Philam. I have a calendar of what goes out every single day. Um, yeah, and it, what, as you know, but when you do that, it takes away time from being creative too. But
Mm.
at the same time, making the content, I mean, the marketing calendar is a different type of creative that I enjoy. It's like, oh, if I put this out on this date,
Yeah.
this will help people drive to do that. Just kind
Mm.
of, it's
It's,
a
it's
different kind of.
it's interesting that you say that because my next question was, how do you stay passionate about creating? Is your is and also to dive a little bit deeper, is your motivation different for comics versus your social change videos or any other project?
No, it's they're about the same. I actually break out my day usually in half. The first
Hmm.
half of the day is what I call like producing and emails. So the first half of the day, I'm trying to just knock out, um, or trying to take care of, excuse me, all of my client work. So I'm in that mode. Like, I'm not thinking about my comics, so I can give everything I'm working on the exact, the proper attention it deserves. So if I'm working on something for my client, I'm not thinking about my comics. It's a strong piece of messaging, and it needs to get my full attention. So I'll focus on that. So the first half of the day is client work. And then, of course, if there's any emails with comic stuff, I'll take care of those emails and those that communication, maybe some marketing for my comics. Second half of the day is either writing specifically or drawing specifically. And if I have to do both, I'll then split the back half between the two, so that my mind is always like, you deserve this at this time. I'm trying to organize myself. Otherwise, if I don't, it's like I'm trying to draw a little bit in the beginning and then going to answer an email. It's going to bother me. And here's something to consider. Did you know it takes a person, I think it's 27 minutes to get into a zone.
Mm.
So if you're in the middle of drawing as an artist, you do actually hit a zone. Like, you start to just fade away and you're just drawing or painting or whatever it is you're doing, you're illustrating. It takes about 27 minutes. So if a notification comes through at minute 28 and you look at it and you start to then answer that email or that text or that Instagram message or whatever, you took yourself out of the zone. It's going to take you another 28 minutes, 27 minutes to get back in there, maybe
Mhm.
half the time.
Mhm.
But why not push that off? That specific thing you were just doing, why not push that notification or reply 2 hours later so that you can keep that zone on um, while drawing or writing? And one way I like to do it is using that feature that we have. All my products are Apple, so if I hit focus, it turns off all my notifications for as long as I need to. So I'll for about 2 hours, I'll turn off all notifications. I could just focus on writing or drawing, um, because I can easily get distracted by like bing, and I'll look at it.
Right.
Yeah, I'll look at it, and then I'll go. Let me answer this real quick. Next, you know, it's 15 minutes later because I'm researching something, and then I'm sending references to somebody and answering this, and then another one comes in, bing, and then ends up being 2 hours later. I'm like, oh, I didn't draw for 2 hours because I let myself go down this rabbit hole of answering emails, and I should have given my illustration that much time, or I should have, I was writing for 2 hours. I was supposed to, and I ended up answering emails. So
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah, it's got to focus on those things, and both my clients for production and my stuff for my comics deserve 100% of my attention when I'm working on it.
Definitely. Um, if you had remained in Boston and never came back to San Diego, how different do you think your life would have been?
Ooh, um, I don't know if I'd be in comics, although it does have a pretty good comics world out there. Um, Man, I love that city. I really do. I don't know. I might have been deeper into advertising because the advertising community out there is strong and
Mm.
vicious. It's
Mhm.
vicious. It's really. Actually, I'm not. I don't want to say that. It's just much more competitive. Excuse me.
Mhm.
Um, but it was fun when I was out there. It was. It was a nostalgic time when I think about it. How much I love that city. I would have been a much different person in terms of where I'd be career wise. Who knows? I might have ended up back in comics because animation and everything that all leads to storytelling. That's kind of my through line, uh, connective tissue throughout my career. Is everything has to do with kind of building a story for somebody, either for clients or for myself.
Mhm.
So who knows? Who knows? But definitely would not have said no. if I would have enjoyed my time out there too, as well, and I
Mhm.
genuinely miss that city.
And my last question of the Thunder Round is, um, what do you think the title of your biography will be?
Oh man. Uh, I don't know. I just thought about it. Was he good enough?
Oh wow. Okay.
I don't know. I don't know what that means, but I don't know.
Well, that'd be like the subtitle. What was he good enough? And then I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's something I think we all struggle with, but it's something that I'm always thinking about with my work. Is it where I want it to be? Is it as good as I want it to be? Are my skills where I want it to be so that I can do my best at the moment? Um, it's that imposter syndrome thing. Are
Mhm.
we? It's I'm getting like real sad about it, but it's something I always fight with myself. Is this good enough? Is this to show to share? And so that's why I try so hard. I guess is I just don't want it to be terrible and misrepresenting what I feel is good.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah,
Well, I think part of it is also that you care about the craft. You know, you don't you
yeah,
don't
yeah.
you don't want to put out something bad when all comes down to it. You're. I mean, based on my conversations with you and that we had in the past, it seems like you definitely are considerate of how some things are put together. You know.
Yeah, I do. At the same time, right? That's also you can get in your own way by overthinking.
Sure.
So I try not to do that too.
Hmm. Well, but also it's good that it seems like you have a good, creative team around you. With your editor and with Dave, and other people as well, that you have people that you can talk to about your, at least with your comic book, you know.
That is 100% correct. You got to have the right checks and balances to make sure that, like, hey, my gut feeling says this.
Hmm.
What do you think? And sometimes I'll be like, that was good. I would go with that. Or I don't know. And so having people you trust around you to give you feedback that I don't want yes men or yes women or yes people around me.
Hmm.
I want people who I trust who will tell me like, no, I wouldn't do that because I like their work and I trust their opinion to be honest with me. So that's very important for me.
I definitely agree with that. Um, let's see. Oh, going back to, I guess, just conventions in general. What shows are you going to be attending this year?
Oh, so far I have confirmed Emerald City Comic Con, so that's in just a few weeks,
Hmm.
and then WonderCon for sure, and then Comic Con Revolution. I'm supposed to hear back about C2E2. Hopefully, I get that one. Um, and those are kind of the ones I have in mind at the moment. I'm still debating LACC. We might be on a family vacation at that time.
Mm-hmm.
There's just one I think you and I know, possibly Phil M Creator Con.
Right.
We'll see. We'll see if I make it in. Um, let's see, and I think those are it at the moment. Last year I went really hard. I think I went to like 9 shows, and it was great, and it was amazing to help kind of put our story out there.
Hmm.
But as you know, traveling can be taxing on your body and on your financials.
Definitely. I mean, even like in our most busiest, when me and Alex used to go to conventions, like in the first start of Hall H, we would probably go to at least 15 or 20 events in one year.
Dang, you two are wild. 15 and
But
20 in one year. Oh my gosh.
so yeah, it's definitely a grind sometimes. But and that's just like Southern California. We never really ventured out into other states.
Well, actually, I'm curious. Is Alex went to Decon, didn't he, out in
Hmm.
Vegas?
Hmm.
Oh,
Hmm.
I want to chat with him, find out how that went.
He had a
Yeah,
good time,
yeah.
and
Okay, cool. Good, good, good.
it was definitely a little different because
Mm,
some of the artists that usually go to Pasadena, or I mean Anaheim, didn't show up. So
yeah,
you know,
yeah. All right. Yeah, I definitely next time we grab a drink, I'll
hmm.
get his point of view on that.
Cool. Well, it's been awesome having you on the show. Is there anything else that you want to discuss about California before we end the show?
No, no, not much. Hey, for anybody who has actually do I do I said no. Anybody who has supported us in any way, whether it's backing it or just spreading the word, um, even just it's been very humbling in a good way. Like, appreciate you, thank you so much. And anybody who's new to it and wants to check it out, jump on Kickstarter and just type in California Inc. Inc. Like incorporated. But especially to those who have helped us get to where we are in any way. It doesn't have to be financial or even having the book. Um, just reposting or anything. It's been great. So thank you so much. We wouldn't be here without you. So thank you again. Appreciate you.
Hmm. And the Kickstarter goes until, I believe it's February 13th, 2025. So,
Yeah, we have some stretch goals to hit. Like I
mhm.
said, the printing has been paid for, but the stretch goals will help us pay for upcoming scripts and going to conventions.
Oh, one more thing before I let you go.
Yeah, yeah.
I know that networking is an important part of being a creative,
Mhm.
especially these days. What are some tips that you can give to somebody who's having trouble, sort of either starting to network, or they've tried to network and they haven't had any success?
I will give you some that I absolutely just gave to one of my nieces. Don't use the word networking.
Mm.
Because when we say that, we get the ick, right? We get kind of like, ugh, networking sounds so like cheesy, like smarmy, like, hey, my name's Art. Here's what I could do. Do you need my help? It's like, no, don't do that. Anytime I've started a new career, my version of networking is just go meet people and be cool. You don't have to look for work. You don't have to say what you do. You don't have to. do any of that weird stuff. Just go meet people whose work you like and just go talk to them and ask them questions. And you don't have to say what your goal is because that starts to make it weird for everybody. Just say, hey, I'm curious about this piece that you did. I love this part. Can you tell me more about it? And one thing is, people like talk about themselves, but two, you get to actually learn. You're getting a small class out of it, right? And if you do that enough with different people, they slowly become people that trust you, and people who might trust you because you're not out to get anything from. You're just meeting people. That's the hardest part of networking, is just meeting people. And you really got to mean it too. Like, just go meet people, put yourself out there, meet them. Um, and I've met so many great folks who are willing to share um, their experiences with how to self-publish. They've given me so many tips to avoid roadblocks that they've run into. And then over time, they've become friends. Not saying all of them have become friends, but some have. And ju- it's been, what, 2 years, Aaron, of me trying to do, since I've joined this comic book world. WonderCon, I'm learning now, might be my biggest WonderCon of 2020, 2025 right now. I might be on 3 to 4 panels. I've reached out to join another kind of creator committee, and they've reached back out to see how I could be part of it. And it all came from just a few years of me getting to know folks, and for them to go, oh, Art's a trusted person. Like, he's not out here to, like, you know just for the sake of making something or making money or whatever. It's just go meet people, be cool, um, read the room. If they're not in the mood to talk to you, don't. And maybe that's not the person for you to connect with. And then, open yourself up to doing some volunteering. Um, Somebody said don't say no to things in the beginning, which is great because, like I said, I'm on two anthologies coming up. I didn't think I had time for that. I made time for, but that's just more published work that I have coming out. I said yes to Aaron. Well, I actually asked to be part of Film CreatorCon, and I've had an amazing experience working with these great folks in there. I met some amazing people. I wouldn't know these people unless I said, "Hey, do you need somebody to help out with Film CreatorCon?"
Hmm.
And how many awesome new friends did I make that I would definitely, go ask to buy them coffee for in the morning at a convention.
Hmm.
Just go meet people. Here's the key: be fucking cool. Don't be weird. Uh, just
Speaking of which, and you just mentioned coffee. I don't know what convention that was, but I remember I ran into you and you were buying coffee for everybody. Remember?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. It was oh man, I think it was WonderCon. Yeah, no, was it one? Yeah, it was WonderCon.
Okay.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
it was
Yeah.
WonderCon. Because sometimes, every once in a while, exhibitors like to do that, like on the last day. Like, well, I know Barbara has done it. I've seen uh, Vince, or they bring in a couple dozen donuts and, like, hand them out to people. It's just a nice thing that we do for each other. But I know there's something about that 2 o'clock on a Sunday, the last day, where you're just like, ugh. And so I felt horrible leaving my table, and I asked Philip Jin next to me to watch my table while I went to go get coffee. And that takes effort to watch my table, and he did. And I was like, let me get him a coffee. And then I was like, you know what? Don's behind me. I'll get him a coffee. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to see Dave. Let me get him a coffee. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to see Barbara. And Barbara and Brian. I'm like, they've been the best. Let me get them a coffee. So, like, I was walking around with, like, six coffees, and I almost spilled. It was really, but it's just, I built my community of people, and
Hmm.
I want to take care of them as much as they took care of me, who brought me in. It's just, it's a fun community if you find the right folks to connect with.
Definitely. And we're both fortunate to know these awesome people.
You know all of those folks, which is great. I know you know every single one of those people I talked about. So yeah.
Art, it's been awesome having you on the podcast again, and I look forward to our next conversation. I'll have all your social media and web links on the web page. But is there any particular uh, place that you want people to go to specifically?
Most of my personal stuff is on Instagram at Art Ebuen, but if you follow if you want to just follow the comic book stuff, it's studio, the number 12 underscore and the number 7, studio 12-7, but
Cool.
underscore
Cool.
at Instagram. But otherwise, hold on, let me, before I forget, let me see if I can get this right. There you go. If you want to do the thing where, how everybody has like a link tree, mine is called a bio site. So it's
Mm.
bio.site /art Ebuen. And then you can find all my links there.
All right, cool. bio.site/art Ebuen.
That's the one. That's one.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's where you could find the Kickstarter. You could find my, if you're interested in seeing my advertising and design stuff, there's a link to that there. And then all my socials there as well.
Cool. Well, thanks again, brother. It's always awesome having you on the show.
No, appreciate you, man. Aaron, you're one of the few and first, I'm show you my appreciation. Hall H podcast and Alex and you were one of the first outlets to give this unknown comic just the time of day. Because when we were first starting, who are you? Like, no one knows who we were, or I was, and wouldn't give us the time of day to even look at our comic or even have us come on to talk about it. So we're on year 2 now, and we've had a little bit more of a following. But you were one of our day ones, so I appreciate you giving us a chance and for continuing to open the door for us to chat too. So thank you, man. I appreciate you.
You're welcome, brother. All right. Thank you for listening to the Holiday Show podcast, and thanks to our very special guest, the cool Arthur Ebuen. As you know, we love putting the spotlight on independent pop culture creatives like Arthur. Please make sure to check out his Kickstarter campaign for his comic book, California Inc., which ends on February 13th, 2025. If you have a suggestion for a potential guest, please let us know by reaching out to us on social media or by filling out our contact form on our website, hallh.com. If you believe in our mission to be the voice of independent creators, we would appreciate a rating, hopefully 5 stars, and a comment on Apple Podcasts. And please spread the word on social media using the hashtag HallHShow. Peace, cheers, and stay safe out there.